Imagine checking your bank account, maybe 6 months after landing literally the biggest raise of your life.
Oh, yeah. We've all been there.
Right, like you fought tooth and nail for this promotion, you took on all those extra projects, you stayed late, you finally got the big meeting with your boss,
Hmm.
and you actually got the number you asked for, which is a miracle in itself.
It's a huge win. You're objectively, mathematically making more money.
Exactly. So you pull up your banking app on a Friday, expecting to see this nice, comfortable cushion of cash.
And instead,
Instead, you see the exact same pathetic single-digit buffer you had before the raise. You have exactly zero extra dollars.
yeah, it's brutal.
You somehow feel poorer than you did when you were making less money. And look, if you have ever experienced that exact gut punch, I need you to know right now that you are not alone.
Definitely not alone.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into why the vast majority of us accidentally sabotage our own promotions and, well, more importantly, how to build a firewall to protect your next raise from yourself.
It is a brutal realization, isn't it? I mean, the math tells you that you're wealthier.
Right. Your W-2 proves it.
Exactly. Your W-2 tells you that you've leveled up. But your daily lived experience, like that low-level hum of financial anxiety we all carry around, it tells you that you're just suffocating.
Yeah.
And the data we are examining today in this deep dive reveals just how universal that feeling of suffocation really is.
And we're not just talking about a small handful of people here.
No, we are not talking about a small fraction of people who, I don't know, have gambling problems or who go out and buy a fleet of sports cars.
Right.
We're talking about an astonishing 74% of people.
Wait, really?
Yes, nearly 3 out of every 4 people who receive a raise return to living completely paycheck to paycheck within just 6 months of getting that new money.
Okay, let's unpack this because that is a terrifying statistic. 74%.
It's staggering.
That means if you look around your office, almost everyone who gets a bump in pay is right back to zero breathing room in half a year.
That's the reality of it.
That implies this isn't an anomaly. It isn't a failure of individual character. This is fundamental human nature.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And behavioral economists give this phenomenon a very specific, almost insidious name. They call it lifestyle creep.
Lifestyle creep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's really terrifying is the definition of it. Because when we hear lifestyle creep, I think we naturally picture someone suddenly wearing, like, head-to-toe designer clothes and flying first class everywhere.
Right, the movie version of getting rich.
Exactly.
Right.
But that's not it at all, is it?
Not at all. I mean, if it were that obvious, it would be so easy to catch.
True.
Lifestyle creep is insidious precisely because it doesn't feel like a reckless financial bender. It feels, well, completely justified.
Oh, the justification is so real.
It is entirely about your baseline spending rising at the exact same velocity as your new income. It's basically what Parkinson's law of money dictates. Expenses will always expand to fill the income available.
So it isn't the private jet?
No, it's the slightly better coffee beans.
Oh, guilty.
Right. Or it's deciding you can finally afford to shop at the premium grocery store instead of the discount one down the street.
Because you've earned the organic avocado.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or it's moving into an apartment that just has like slightly more natural light and maybe an in-unit washer and dryer.
The ultimate luxury.
It is. Or taking on a car lease that is just $150 more per month because, you deserve a safe, reliable car for your brand new commute.
Yeah, it's the I deserve this narrative. I know I've fallen for that hook, line, and sinker.
We all do. It's human nature.
You work an 80-hour week, you get the bonus, and your immediate psychological response is, I suffered for this, so I deserve a reward.
Mm.
And suddenly, you aren't just buying one nice dinner, you're upgrading the entire infrastructure of your life.
That's a great way to put it.
It's like death by 1,000 small upgrades. It's the boiling frog syndrome, but with your bank account. You don't even realize the water is getting hotter because the upgrades are so tiny and incremental.
The boiling frog is the perfect analogy here. Because what happens on a neurochemical level is that your baseline resets.
Wait, how so?
Well, humans are subject to what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill.
Okay.
We get a new reward, a nicer apartment, a better car, and it gives us this massive spike in dopamine.
It feels amazing.
For about a week.
Yeah.
But very quickly, we adapt to that new environment. It no longer feels like a luxury. It just feels completely normal.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So the raise, for all intents and purposes, simply disappears. It evaporates into the ether of your upgraded daily habits.
So you're basically just running faster to stay in the exact same place.
Precisely. And suddenly you're in the exact same paycheck-to-paycheck panic you were in before, but with a terrifying twist.
Which
Your
is?
fixed bills are permanently higher. The stakes are higher now.
You've essentially built a more expensive prison for yourself.
It's exactly what it is.
So if 74% of us are naturally hardwired to do this, how on earth do we fight it?
That's the core of the framework we're looking at.
Because, I mean, the standard financial advice you hear out there usually makes me want to scream.
Oh, the typical budgeting advice.
Yeah. You hear that statistic, and the typical response from financial gurus is, well, then you just have to live like a monk.
Right. Stop buying lattes.
Exactly. You have to hoard every penny, never eat out again, and pretend the raise never happened. But I'm going to push back on that.
Please do, because the sources push back on it too.
If I work my tail off to get a promotion and I can't enjoy a single dime of it, what is the point of working hard? Deprivation just sounds absolutely miserable.
And it is miserable.
Yeah.
Furthermore, from a behavioral standpoint, extreme deprivation is practically guaranteed to fail.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, the research heavily advises against this ascetic, live like a monk mentality. Because total deprivation acts exactly like a pressure cooker.
Okay, I can see that.
If you deny yourself any tangible reward for your increased effort and your success, it inevitably leads to a psychological snapping point.
Oh, the bin.
Exactly. You deprive, and then one Tuesday night at 2 a.m., you just snap.
Your online shopping.
You end up making a massive, truly reckless purchase like, I don't know, booking a $10,000 luxury vacation on a high-interest credit card because you feel so constrained and resentful of your own life.
Yeah, it's like a financial diet where you eat nothing but cabbage soup for a month and then eat an entire chocolate cake in one sitting.
That is the exact psychological mechanism at play.
Yeah.
So the key to escaping the 74% isn't suffering.
Okay, good.
The key is structural design. You have to change how the money is handled before your brain even has the opportunity to make a choice.
Okay, so if we aren't using willpower and we aren't using deprivation, what's the actual mechanism? How do we literally protect the raise?
We make it disappear,
Okay, mysterious. I like it.
but we do it strategically. This brings us to the core philosophy of the entire framework outlined in the sources, which is the invisible paycheck.
The invisible paycheck.
Yes. The fundamental goal here is to take that new money, the specific raise amount, and automate its distribution straight into savings and investments before it ever touches your primary checking account.
So you're creating a financial firewall between your income and your daily spending habits.
That's a great way to visualize it. Yes, a firewall.
I love the sound of that. But walk me through the psychology of why invisibility matters so much.
Sure.
Like, why can't I just leave it in my checking account and use a really detailed spreadsheet to track it?
Because humans are highly visual, reactionary creatures, especially when it comes to resource management. We evolved to consume the resources we see right in front of us.
Like food on a counter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you open your banking app on a Friday morning and you see a visually larger number sitting there in your available balance, your brain immediately begins allocating those funds.
It's already spent in my head before I've put my phone back in my pocket.
Right. Your brain subconsciously whispers, hey, we have an abundance. We can afford the extra drinks tonight. We can afford the nicer shoes.
Oh, absolutely.
But if that money simply isn't there to see, if it is rendered digitally invisible, your present self literally cannot accidentally spend it.
That makes so much sense.
It shifts you completely out of the danger zone of accidental spending and frees you up for intentional enjoyment.
It's out of sight, out of mind, but applied to wealth building. You're artificially inducing a scarcity mindset in your checking account while secretly building this huge abundance in the background.
That's it entirely.
But to make this work, there has to be zero friction, right?
Zero.
Because if I have to manually transfer that money every Friday, I know myself, I'll make an excuse.
Of course. Just this once.
Yeah, I'll say, well, I'll just leave it here this week because I have a friend's birthday coming up and I'll transfer double next week. And we all know next week never, ever happens.
Exactly. Because willpower is a heavily finite resource.
Yeah, by Friday afternoon, I have none left.
Right. By the end of a long workday, you are suffering from massive decision fatigue. You do not have the cognitive energy to make the right financial choice.
So automation is key.
Automation is an absolute non-negotiable necessity. You cannot rely on your own discipline.
Okay. So how do we set it up?
The researchers point to two very specific practical methods to build this firewall. The first, and honestly most effective, is utilizing your employer's payroll portal,
like the HR software.
Yeah, almost all modern payroll systems allow you to log in and direct your direct deposit into multiple separate accounts.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
You can split it by a specific percentage or by a fixed dollar amount, sending a chunk directly to a brokerage or a high-yield savings account that you rarely look at.
Okay, but what if someone is working for a smaller company or a place where the HR software looks like it was built in 1995 and doesn't allow for multiple accounts?
It happens. In that case, you utilize the second method, which is right inside your own banking app. You set up a recurring automatic transfer. But the crucial detail here is the trigger.
The trigger.
It must be triggered the exact moment your paycheck hits your account. If you get paid on the 15th at 3 a.m., that transfer needs to execute on the 15th at 3:01 a.m.
Oh, wow. So the money has to be swept away while you are literally sleeping.
Exactly. Before you even wake up to check your balance.
That's genius. And from what I understand from the sources, the timing of when you set this whole system up is just as critical as the automation itself.
Yes, the timing is paramount.
Like you can't wait a few months to feel out your new budget, right?
If you wait, you lose.
Yeah.
The strict rule is that this automation must be set up the very day the raise goes into effect.
The very day.
Not a week later, not after you celebrate with a nice dinner, the very day.
Because of the hedonic treadmill again.
Precisely. The treadmill moves incredibly fast. It only takes 1 or 2 pay cycles for your brain to accept the new, higher number as the baseline normal.
And once it's normal, it's yours.
And once your brain expects to see that larger number, taking it away to put into savings feels like a loss.
Oh, I see.
And humans are deeply, deeply driven by loss aversion. You have to intercept the money before the psychological baseline ever adjusts.
So you're bypassing your present self's impulse control entirely.
Right. You're forcing a system where your long-term goals are funded first, rather than just getting whatever scraps happen to be left over at the end of the month.
Okay, so the mechanism makes total sense to me. We build a firewall, we automate the transfer, we make the money invisible while we sleep. But how do we actually know how much to hide?
That is the big question.
Because if I hide all of it, we're right back to the deprivation trap we talked about. I want to celebrate. I want to enjoy my promotion.
Absolutely.
So how exactly do we slice up this invisible pie?
This is where we get into the actual math of the strategy. Behavioral economists have designed a specific formula just for this exact scenario.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's called the 50-30-20 raise rule.
The 50-30-20 rule, I've heard of that.
But before we get into the percentages, we have to establish a massive foundational distinction based on the source material.
Okay.
This rule does not apply to your total baseline income.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, that's a huge relief for most people.
Because the standard 50-30-20 rule you hear from traditional finance gurus, where you spend 50% on needs, 30% on wants, and 20% on savings, is completely broken for most people today.
It really is.
In this economy, with housing and grocery inflation where it is, telling someone to only spend 50% of their total income on basic needs is practically insulting.
It is entirely disconnected from the reality of modern fixed costs. Which is why this specific framework is so brilliant. It abandons trying to micromanage your existing baseline entirely.
So what does it apply to?
The 50-30-20 raise rule applies exclusively to the delta. It applies only to the newly added funds.
Okay.
The raise, the annual bonus, or the fresh payout from a new side hustle, you just continue living your life on your previous salary, which you were already doing anyway.
Right.
And you selectively deploy this rule against the new growth.
That distinction changes everything. It's so much more realistic. So let's break down the buckets, starting with the biggest one, the 50%.
Right. Half of the new money, 50% of the raise amount, is automatically directed to your future.
Okay.
This is the invisible portion we talked about. It gets swept into high-yield savings, investment portfolios, or it is aggressively targeted toward paying down high-interest debt.
Let's put some real-world context on this so we aren't just talking in, abstractions.
Good idea. Let's use a solid number.
Let's say you just landed a promotion and it comes with a $10,000 annual raise.
Okay, great example.
First of all, congratulations to you.
Absolutely.
But instead of letting that 10 grand bleed into your checking account to be slowly eaten by delivery apps and impulse buys, you apply the rule.
Right.
50% of that is going straight to your future. Now, $5,000 a year sounds like a lot of money to lock away, but let's look at the psychology of the monthly breakdown.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you divide that $5,000 by 12 months, it comes out to roughly $416 a month.
$416 a month. That is a part payment. That is a massive contribution to an index fund that is crushing a credit card balance.
It adds up incredibly fast.
And here is the magic trick. Because you never saw it, because it was intercepted before it hit your checking account, you won't even feel the pinch.
Not at all.
You were surviving without that $416 yesterday, so you will survive without it today. You are literally building wealth in the background while your day-to-day life remains completely uninterrupted.
And we're securing compounding growth without triggering loss aversion. It is painless wealth generation.
Painless wealth. I like that.
But as we discussed, we cannot ignore the present, which brings us to the 30% bucket.
My favorite bucket.
This 30% is designated explicitly as fun money.
This is the part that makes the whole system sustainable. This is the anti-monk clause.
It really is.
30% of the raise is yours to spend on absolutely anything you want with zero guilt, zero spreadsheets, and zero anxiety.
Exactly.
You worked hard for that promotion, you dealt with the stress, you put in the hours, and this 30% is the structural acknowledgement of your hard work. It's your reward.
It creates a crucial psychological equilibrium. You are satisfying your brain's immediate visceral desire for a reward.
You're feeding the dopamine monster.
Yes. You are giving yourself the dopamine hit of spending new money, but you are doing it in a safely cordoned-off sandbox that prevents it from destroying your future financial architecture.
Okay, so that's 50 for the future, 30 for fun. What about the rest?
And then finally, we have the remaining 20%, which the framework designates for others.
For others.
This means charitable giving, philanthropy, or buying experiences and gifts for your family and friends.
Now, I have to push back here.
Okay, go ahead.
Pro-social spending is wonderful, but let's be brutally honest about the financial reality a lot of people are facing right now.
It's tough out there.
What if giving just isn't a priority for you right now? What if you are buried under 6 figures of student loans? Or you're a single parent just trying to build a 3-month emergency fund?
Very valid scenarios.
The idea of giving away 20% of a hard-earned raise might feel not just impossible, but totally irresponsible. Does the whole formula fall apart if you skip that bucket?
That is an incredibly important point, and it's a reality the framework explicitly anticipates.
Oh, good.
The system is designed to be adaptable to your current season of life. If charitable giving or extravagant gifting is not financially feasible or structurally responsible for you right now, there is a clear protocol.
Which is?
That 20% does not go into your fun money bucket. You don't get a 50% fun allocation.
Nice try, brain.
Right. Instead, that 20% rolls straight backward into the future bucket.
Whoa, wait, so if you bypass the giving bucket, you combine the 50 and the 20.
Exactly.
That means a massive 70% of your new raise goes directly toward long-term wealth building, investments, or debt destruction.
Exactly. 70% of your new income becomes an invisible wealth generation engine.
That is huge.
Think about the velocity of that. If you apply 70% of every raise, every bonus, and every side hustle check you get over the next 10 years directly into compounding investments or debt payoff, you are drastically accelerating your timeline to financial independence.
And you're doing it without ever once feeling like you took a pay cut or deprived your daily life.
That's the beauty of it.
That is incredibly powerful. But, I see a potential flaw in this system.
Oh, what's that?
The 50-30-20 raise rule perfectly handles the daily recurring upgrades, gives you a little extra monthly fun money. But what about celebrating the big monumental win?
The big celebration.
Yeah, like you just got the title of director, you just closed the biggest sale of the year. Getting an extra $100 a month in fun money doesn't really feel like a celebration for that.
It doesn't scratch the itch.
No, you want to mark the occasion.
Yeah.
You want to do something big. How do we do that without shattering the invisible firewall we just built?
The behavioral economists behind this strategy understand that urge completely. When you experience a major victory, your brain demands a visceral, undeniable reward.
Exactly.
If you suppress that, you risk the binging behavior we talked about earlier. So they introduce a safety valve.
Okay, a safety valve.
It's called the 10% splurge strategy. This is the precise mechanism for intentional, high-impact celebration.
The 10% splurge, how does it work?
The rule dictates that upon receiving new income, you are allowed exactly one celebratory purchase.
Just one.
Just one. But it is strictly and mathematically capped at 10% of the total annual raise amount.
Okay, let's stick with our $10,000 raise example because the math is clean and it illustrates the point perfectly.
That idea.
Step 1, you identify the total annual raise. $10,000. Step 2, you apply the 10% limit. 10% of 10,000 is $1,000.
Correct.
Step 3, you go out and you make a single celebratory purchase that stays under that $1,000 ceiling.
Yes, and it can be whatever you want.
So you book a weekend trip to the mountains. You buy that new tablet you've been staring at for 6 months. You buy a ridiculously expensive bottle of champagne and take your partner out to a Michelin star restaurant. You completely blow the $1,000.
But here is the critical psychological and financial distinction the framework makes. What's fascinating here is that it revolves around two concepts, a memory versus a chain.
A memory versus a chain.
This is arguably the most profound way to view your spending habits. A $1,000 weekend trip to the mountains is a one-time event.
Right.
It is a variable cost. The money is spent, the dopamine is released, the experience is enjoyed, and it becomes a lasting positive memory.
Which is what you want.
Exactly. But most importantly, it has absolutely zero bearing on your financial obligations next month. When the trip is over, your baseline expenses haven't moved an inch.
Right. But let's look at the alternative, what most people actually do when they get a raise. Yeah. Let's say instead of taking a one-time trip to celebrate, you decide that because you are a director now, you deserve to live in a luxury building. So you upgrade your apartment and your rent goes up by $500 a month. Or you decide your old sedan doesn't fit your new title, so you lease a luxury SUV that costs $300 more a month than your old car.
And that is what behavioral economists call the chain.
The chain.
Yes. Upgrading your rent by $500 and your car by $300 equals $800 of new obligations every single month.
Wow.
Over the course of a year, that is $9,600.
That's almost the entire raise.
Exactly. You have just permanently changed yourself to a higher cost of living.
Yep.
You have taken a near $10,000 annual liability and locked it into your baseline.
It is literally the difference between throwing a fantastic, wild, unforgettable one-night celebration party with all your friends versus permanently moving into a vastly more expensive, high-pressure neighborhood where you have to maintain that party lifestyle every single day just to fit in.
That's a perfect analogy.
The one-night party is fun and leaves a great memory. The expensive neighborhood will slowly bankrupt you and cause you endless stress.
Precisely. The 10% splurge strategy gives you the intense dopamine hit of the reward, the party, without altering your monthly baseline.
It's so smart.
It is a brilliant safeguard against the hedonic treadmill. And once that one-time splurge is complete, the rules dictate that you must return strictly to the 50-30-20 framework to manage the ongoing month-to-month increase in your income.
Okay, I am completely sold. This system, the invisible paycheck, the 50-30-20 rule for new money, the 10% splurge, it is an absolutely bulletproof shield against future lifestyle creep.
It really is designed to be bulletproof.
If you just got a raise today, you have the exact blueprint. But let's be totally honest with ourselves and with everyone listening right now.
Let's do it.
What if you are already in the 74%?
Oh, yes.
What if the lifestyle creep has already happened? What if you are listening to this from the driver's seat of that expensive luxury lease, pulling into the parking garage of that upgraded apartment, and you are already suffocating under the chains? Is it too late?
It is never too late.
Yeah.
And the researchers do not leave those people stranded.
Thank goodness.
They understand that this is the reality for the vast majority of people encountering this information for the very first time.
Yeah.
So they provide a dedicated framework for damage control.
Damage control, okay.
Specifically outlining how to reverse existing lifestyle creep. And they offer a very sobering yet oddly comforting principle to anchor this whole reversal process.
What's the principle?
They explicitly state that reversing lifestyle creep requires no magic, just math and choices.
No magic, just math and choices.
That's it.
You know, I actually find that incredibly relieving. It completely removes the shame and the guilt from the equation.
Exactly. It's not a moral judgment.
Right. It stops being a moral failing and just becomes a math problem to solve. You didn't fail as a human being, you just miscalculated, and now you have to make different choices to fix the math.
That's exactly how they frame it.
And to solve it, the framework outlines two major strategies, right? The step-down strategy and the offset strategy.
Correct. Let's start with strategy A, the step down.
Okay, how does the step-down work?
The step-down strategy is fundamentally a passive approach, but it requires a tremendous amount of patience and a willingness to really check your ego.
Check your ego. Why?
Because it focuses entirely on reducing your major fixed costs. However, Because these are usually contractual obligations, you cannot usually do this overnight. You have to wait for the natural expiration of your current contracts.
Right, you can't just snap your fingers and magically terminate a 12-month lease without paying massive penalties. That would just make the math worse.
Exactly. So the action here involves a psychological shift today. You are committing today to future action. It means waiting for your current expensive apartment lease to expire. And when it does, intentionally choosing to move to a less expensive place, even if it feels like a step backward in social status.
That's the ego check.
Yes. It means that when your current expensive car lease ends, instead of automatically going back to the dealership and upgrading to the newest model,
Like everyone expects you to.
right. Instead, you buy a reliable, used vehicle for cash, or you lease something vastly cheaper. The entire goal of the step-down strategy is to lower your financial baseline entirely.
You're actively choosing to reverse the thousand small upgrades by making massive structural downgrades to your fixed costs.
Exactly.
I can see how effective that is mathematically, but man, from a psychological standpoint, waiting 8 or 9 months for a lease to end while you are bleeding cash every month, feeling that anxiety, that is tough.
It's agonizing for some
Yeah,
people.
honestly, downgrading hurts. Loss aversion kicks in, your ego takes a hit because you feel like you are retreating.
It does feel like a retreat. Which brings us to strategy B.
The offset.
Yes. If the step-down is passive and requires immense patience, the offset strategy is active, aggressive neutralization.
Aggressive neutralization. I like the sound of that.
If you cannot lower your expenses immediately, you have to buy back the creep by generating extra income.
Okay, so this is where we look at generating immediate capital to bridge the gap.
Precisely. You start a secondary job, you launch a side hustle,
Yeah.
you take on freelance work, or you begin aggressively liquidating items you no longer use.
You have to inject new cash into the system.
Yes. But here is the critical element, and I cannot stress this enough based on the sources.
Mhm.
It is a major fundamental exception to everything we have discussed so far regarding the 50-30-20 rule.
Oh, yes, the 100% rule exception. This is where the math gets punitive but necessary.
Correct. When you are using the offset strategy to fix existing lifestyle creep, you do not get to split the money.
No fun.
There is no fun bucket. To offset your past choices, you must put 100% of this newly generated extra money into the future bucket.
Ouch. Okay, let's use a concrete example to really ground this.
Sure. Say you move to a nicer apartment and your rent went up by $300 a month. That is your creep.
Right.
To offset it, you must earn an extra $300 monthly through your side hustle, and you must use all of it, 100%, to pay down debt or build your savings back up.
All of it.
Yes. You are working solely to remain financially neutral.
The math is completely unforgiving. You artificially inflated your lifestyle by $300, so now you have to artificially inject $300 of pure, unadulterated labor just to buy back your baseline.
That's the reality of the math.
And the framework is strict. You have to keep doing this, putting 100% away until you are neutralized.
Yes, until the baseline is stabilized.
And only once you have stabilized the baseline can any future side hustle money revert back to the fun split 50-30-20 rule.
Exactly. It forces a psychological reckoning. It forces you to realize the true, tangible cost of the upgrade.
Because it's not just money anymore, it's your time.
Right. When you have to spend your Saturday afternoons driving for a rideshare service or doing freelance graphic design specifically to pay for the creep, it radically changes your relationship to that upgraded apartment or that fancy car.
Oh, absolutely. You start to view it not as a luxury, but as a liability that is stealing your weekend.
That's the exact mindset shift the offset strategy creates.
You know, I noticed something really interesting in the sources regarding the liquidation aspect of the offset strategy.
Oh, what's that?
Well, the researchers explicitly recommend selling unused items to generate this extra cash quickly, but they deliberately do not specify which items are best to sell.
That's true.
They don't say, here is a guide on how to flip vintage electronics, or here is the best way to liquidate designer clothes. And I think that omission is entirely the point.
How do you mean?
The strategy isn't about becoming an expert online reseller of specific goods. It is entirely about the financial application of the cash you generate.
I see what you're saying.
It doesn't matter if you sell an old bicycle on a marketplace app, or a bookshelf to your neighbor, or an old guitar. What matters is the discipline of the transaction.
Right.
What matters is that 100% of that $20 or $50 goes immediately into the future bucket to neutralize the gap. The item sold is irrelevant. The execution of the 100% rule is everything.
That is a very astute analysis. The focus is strictly on the mathematics of the offset, not the mechanics of the liquidation.
Yeah.
The goal is achieving financial neutrality, reaching a state where your income, minus your inflated expenses, is back to a healthy, sustainable baseline.
But let's step back and look at the emotional reality again. Waiting for a 12-month lease to end feels daunting.
It really does.
Starting a whole new side business from scratch when you are already exhausted from your primary job feels overwhelming.
It's a lot to ask of someone who's already stressed.
Exactly. So if you are listening to this right now, sitting in your car or walking your dog, and you are feeling completely overwhelmed by the creep you've let into your life, what can you do right this second?
That's a vital question.
How do you regain a sense of agency when the structural fixes take months?
The behavioral economists anticipate this exact feeling of paralysis. When the problem seems too big, human beings freeze.
Fight, flight, or freeze, and usually it's freeze when it comes to money.
Right. So they provide a protocol dedicated to immediate action steps, which they call the first win.
The first win.
The goal here isn't to fix your entire financial life in one afternoon. The goal is to break the paralysis, generate momentum, and prove to yourself that you actually have control over your money.
And it starts with a surgical strike they call the audit and the cut.
Yes.
Okay.
The instruction is simple but highly specific.
What is it?
You are to literally open your banking app right now and review your statements from the last 90 days.
Okay, open the app.
But you are not downloading a budgeting app. You are not building a massive, color-coded, complex spreadsheet.
No spreadsheets today?
None. You are on a search and destroy mission for exactly one thing. You find exactly one recurring expense that crept up on you without you noticing.
Just one.
Just one. It could be that specialized gym membership you haven't used since January.
Right?
It could be an inflated grocery delivery subscription you totally forgot you signed up for. It could be a software trial that rolled over into a paid tier. You find one single leak and you sever it immediately. You cancel it today.
It takes maybe 5 minutes of your time, but the psychological impact is immediate and disproportionate. You have stopped a leak. You have taken an active step to defend your resources.
Exactly. You proved you can do it.
But the framework doesn't stop there. They introduce a second immediate action step, which honestly is perhaps the most elegant piece of behavioral design in the entire system.
Yes. The 1% pivot.
The 1% pivot. Let's talk about it.
It is brilliant because of its sheer accessibility. Let's explore why this works so well.
Yeah, okay.
Even if you do not have a new raise to manage, even if you are just living on your standard baseline salary right now and feeling completely stuck, you can still deploy the invisible paycheck concept today.
Really?
You log into your employer portal or your banking app, and you set up an automatic split of just 1% of your current paycheck into a separate unchecked savings account.
1%. Let's look at the math on that to understand why it's so genius.
Let's do it.
1% of a paycheck is a mathematically negligible amount for almost anyone to lose from their daily spending. If you make $3,000 a month, 1% is $30.
$30.
Over the course of 30 days, you will not miss $30. It is the equivalent of buying one less coffee a week.
Right.
But by automating that tiny, almost invisible slice, making it permanently disappear before you can touch it, you completely break the absolute paycheck-to-paycheck cycle.
Exactly. You fundamentally alter your financial identity. You are no longer someone who spends 100% of what they make. You are now someone who spends 99%. And the psychology here is profound.
You prove to yourself that the system actually works. You get to watch a tiny secondary balance grow completely on its own without any daily effort from you.
That's the power of the first win.
It provides a massive psychological win without requiring a painful, sweeping lifestyle overhaul that, let's be honest, you would probably just abandon in a week anyway.
Which is what usually happens with extreme budgeting.
Exactly. It is the absolute smallest domino you can knock over, but it starts a permanent chain reaction of behavioral change.
And crucially, it builds the infrastructure. Getting over the friction of logging into the portal, finding the routing numbers, and setting up the transfer is the hardest part.
Finding the routing number is always the worst part.
Always. But once that automatic transfer is established for 1%, it is remarkably easy to log back in next month and change it to 2%, and then 5% the month after that.
Because the pipes are already laid.
Exactly. You are slowly turning up the dial on your wealth generation without shocking your system. The hardest part is simply laying down the invisible pipeline.
So I want to speak directly to you right now. Yes, you listening to this. This is the moment of application.
The time for action.
If you have been nodding along as we talk, if you recognize that 74% statistic in your own life, if you feel that low-level anxiety about your fixed costs, I challenge you to pause this deep dive right now.
Do it.
Don't wait until the end of the show. Don't tell yourself you'll do it tonight. Open your banking app and execute the 1% pivot. Or hunt down that one forgotten streaming service and cancel it. Claim your first win right this second. Prove to yourself that you are in control.
If we synthesize this entire journey, what we're really looking at is a masterclass in applied behavioral economics.
It really is.
We're looking at a system that doesn't fight human nature, but rather works with it. The framework acknowledges the absolute, undeniable reality of lifestyle creep.
It doesn't judge you for it.
No, it acknowledges that we are visual creatures who want to reward ourselves for our hard work. But it provides a structural architecture to survive those impulses.
The firewall.
Yes, deploying the invisible paycheck through the 50-30-20 rule allows you to protect your future wealth seamlessly and automatically. Utilizing the 10% splurge allows you to celebrate those victories viscerally and safely, prioritizing lasting memories over permanent financial chains.
And when mistakes have already been made.
It offers the sober, non-judgmental reality of math and choices, the step down in the offset to methodically fix the past.
It is a complete holistic toolkit for taking back your financial agency. But before we wrap up today, there is one final thing we have to address.
Oh,
Throughout all the data and behavioral strategies we reviewed for this deep dive, there is a recurring teaser. The researchers keep dropping hints about something they call the 3-day rule.
yes. The impulse purchase protocol. It is referenced several times in the margins of the research.
Exactly. They tease this 3-day rule as the ultimate definitive protocol for handling those late-night 2 a.m. impulse purchases.
We have all been there.
You're lying in bed, the blue light of your phone illuminating your face, and you are frantically convincing yourself that you absolutely fundamentally need whatever highly targeted item is currently sitting in your digital cart.
The algorithm knows exactly what you want.
It really does. But the researchers are incredibly mysterious about it. They highlight its purpose, they promise it works, but they leave the actual step-by-step psychological implementation a total secret for now.
It is an excellent behavioral cliffhanger. They successfully established the problem, the failure of late-night impulse control, and they name the solution, but they strategically withhold the mechanics of execution.
Which perfectly sets up the necessity for us to do a future deep dive specifically into the psychology of point-of-sale spending and friction design.
Oh, we are definitely going to have to tear into that 3-day rule as soon as possible.
Because if anyone needs a firewall against 2 a.m. algorithmic targeting, it is me.
Same here.
But for today, as we close out this exploration of escaping the lifestyle creep trap and building your invisible paycheck, I want to leave you with a final, slightly philosophical thought to mull over.
Okay, let's hear it.
Well, consider the societal implications of what we've discussed today. We are so deeply conditioned by our culture to display our success outwardly.
Though heavily conditioned.
We buy the expensive car, we lease the luxury apartment, we wear the specific brands that signal to our peer group that we have leveled up in the hierarchy.
It's all about signaling.
But if you truly implement this invisible system, your lifestyle will no longer visually reflect every single dollar of your career growth. To the outside world, your neighbors and your coworkers, you might look exactly the same as you did 3 years ago.
Which can be a strange feeling.
So the provocative question is this: how does that change your internal confidence? When your wealth is completely invisible to the world, but deeply, undeniably visible to you every time you look at your quietly compounding savings, how does that shift your sense of personal power?
That is the ultimate shift in perspective. It is the profound difference between looking rich and actually being wealthy.
Looking rich is loud, anxious, and chained to a monthly payment. Being wealthy is silent, invisible, and completely free.
The math is binary, but human behavior is wonderfully messy.
You have the structural tools now to build the firewall and make the math work for you, entirely behind the scenes. Enjoy your newfound financial clarity, and we will see you on the next deep dive.